Good morning, John. Again, once again, I'm going to be going for Immaculate Grid. Got a little bit of a futility streak going. A couple games where I had higher, as in worse scores, and a couple games where I didn't get all nine. So I don't think I've had a really good game since Tuesday. Trying to break that today. Um, One other thing I wanted to do, a little bit different from other episodes, is today's July 16th, which would have been today would have been my dad's 72nd birthday. He's the man that raised me to love this game of baseball. Really instilled it in me from a young age. It was the thing we bonded over, I would say, the most. In fact, right here, I got a couple other things. But right here, this is he was assistant coaching my little league team. Had a really busy schedule. He found time to be an assistant coach on my little league team. This is us at the 1999 Glendale Little League All Star, Glendale, Wisconsin Little League All Star game. Um, and it cherished memory. Let's put this over here. Um, One other picture I did think to grab off the wall was this one here. This was our last Brewer game. There we go. Brewer game prior to me going off to school, wearing that Brewers Hawaiian shirt. I got this for him at one point, had stadium dirt and everything. Probably way overpaid for it, but totally worth it. Anyway, usually I advertise my book, which I actually set out to write my book as kind of a tribute to him. I actually started before he died. I started before his health when his health took a bad turn, and I wanted to write it to have it be another thing we could bond over and talk about and seek his advice because he was an author. It was more of a creative outlet for him. It wasn't his day job, but I wanted to seek that advice and bond over that. And as I write my introductory tribute, that didn't exactly work out. Dad passed away about 10 days after I started writing the book or something like that. But I did want to plug his books. I won't say they're sponsored because I don't own the publishing rights, but a couple books that my dad wrote. All told, he wrote 21 books over the course of his life. His first book was released in the late 1980s, and it's on theme for this show because it's about baseball. It's called Can't Miss. Um, Pictured is one Christine Tilden, who is the first female baseball player, and that was my dad thought that was just around the corner, and wrote a book about it. So this is about the trials and tribulations and his life in the big leagues as a pioneer, as Christine was. So I'll include a link to this book if I can find one. I assume one exists. I'll put it in the episode description. The other book I wanted to advertise, like I said, he wrote about 21 books. The next one after this one was a book called Badger Game, which takes place in New York City in the early 1960s. And the sequel to that, that one's not about baseball, but this one is. And this is a sequel with the same characters called Fielder's Choice. It's a little bit of a play on words, which I also borrow in my books to refer to a couple of, we'll call them relatively rotund first basemen who played for the Tigers and Brewers. Um, anyway, this book actually takes place in the backdrop. That's a Mets logo there. This is supposed to be at the Polo Grounds. This book takes place during sort of the backdrop of the Mets 1962 120 loss season. So that's going around in the background while this book is being written, while this murder mystery is written. And that was actually most of my dad's books were mysteries. These are the couple that happen to really have a strong baseball theme. But I'll include links to those books, assuming I can find them, and I'm sure it would mean a ton to him up in heaven if you check them out. But for today, once again, playing some Immaculate Grid. Let's see if I can, channel my dad and do a little bit better this time. It's been, like I said, about a 4-day futility streak here. A little bit earlier in that, it's about 11:15 on the East Coast. So I might check these at the end of the day and just um, uh, see how relevant they still are. This is yesterday's. Like I said, I got all nine, but this one ended up being a much bigger thing than I would have expected. And really my not unifying, but my theory on this is that if you look at the summary from yesterday, I don't want to hit it because it'll refresh everything, but if you look at it from yesterday, about 40% of people got this right. I would assume that of the remaining 60%, the vast majority picked Bob Gibson, who didn't have 300 wins. I mentioned that he was at like 250, 260, something like that. And then you like look at the other options, and it's a couple people from the 1800s. It's Cy Young, who played like 1 or 2 seasons in St. Louis. And then pretty much, yeah, after that's Steve Carlton. So it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Most people got the wrong answer, and there haven't been like, it's not like Tom Glavitt played a year in St. Louis or anyone recent. So that explained that one. And then even the rest of these weren't all that great, but except Satchel Paige. That was a good one. I nailed that one because I made the association with St. Louis Browns. Anyway, let's play today's game. Let's see what we got. We got Angels and Tigers at the top. We just have 40 homer season batting. I'm not going to take any crazy risks on that one. I should be able to come up with some. And then Red Sox, Cubs, and White Sox along the side there. Cool. We can I think we can play with this a little bit. Although not not a ton of super obvious ones jumping out. Fred Lynn did play for the Red Sox and the Angels. That is a true statement. I don't know how popular he's going to be. So did John Lackey more recently. John Lackey also would work for the Angels and Cubs. In fact, he'd probably be here's my thought here is that he'd probably be a better pick for the Cubs. Oh no, he was on that 2016 team, so maybe not. I'm just kind of thinking these things out loud. I think I'll start on the right hand side. In the background, I'll try to just think of some better common ones here. Got Tigers and Red Sox. We got Tigers and Cubs, Tigers and White Sox. A lot of my standbys aren't gonna work here. Reggie Sanders isn't gonna work in here. Reggie Sanders doesn't actually work for any of these teams. Mike Cameron would work for these two teams, but neither of these two teams. I want to say Octavio Dotel will work here, but I think he'll be about. I think he did play for both of these teams. I also think he was in the neighborhood of about. I think he'll be about 2%, no matter what. If he works, he'll get about 2% because I think a lot of people are just like Octavio Dotel played for half the teams in Major League Baseball almost, so he'll work. I am going to go with I'll go over the 40 home runs, but I did just think of a pretty good one for Red Sox and Angels because he's not thought of with either team. But Ricky Henderson played his second to final season in Boston. I've got a baseball card of him with the Red Sox. I think it's a Topps baseball card with the Red Sox. And he played about half a season, 1997. And I remember that season mostly because it was, I think, the final year of the 98 Pinnacle score cards, which I thought were beautiful baseball cards. I have deep nostalgia for the 97, 98 Pinnacle score cards. Like both years. Like the one before that, like so after the 96 season had lowercase text, had fielding stats, and it still had a lengthy bio. It was amazing how much they packed into one card. The next year I thought also was like a very pleasing design, aesthetically pleasing design. And there's right there, you got Ricky Henderson with his playing left field with the Angels wearing that periwinkle pink pinstripe uniform. I'm gonna close that ad. It did occur to me, I'm just like kind of advertising for Immaculate Grid down here, whoever does this. But anyway, selecting Ricky Henderson, put it in under 1% for the greatest leadoff hitter of all time. pretty good. All right. Let's see. Let's just think about some 40 homer seasons the Red Sox have had. I'm gonna take a drink of coffee real quick while I ponder these over. You got Ted Williams. You also have Jamie Foxx, and I'm gonna keep that in my back pocket. He had a 50 homer season for the Red Sox. I want to say it was like 38 or 30, like in that neighborhood. Um, Williams obviously works, Carl Yastrzemski works, Jim Rice works. Um, Rico Petrocelli works. That might be better than Jimmy Fox. I think he had exactly 40 home runs one season. Vern Stevens comes close, but does not get it. He had 39 in the 1949 season, and I actually talk about that uh, the last couple days of that season in my book. I have a whole chapter about that. But basically, Ted Williams is fighting for a third triple crown. He's fighting someone else for the batting average lead, and he's battling with the guy that hits behind him for the RBI lead. And of course, in that case, in Vern Stevens' case, the reason he has so many RBIs, one of the reasons is that Ted Williams is constantly on base in front of him. But anyway, he doesn't work there, so I'm gonna move on. I mentioned that Jim Rice works. And then Tony Armas, I think might work too. I think he had a couple, I think he had at least one 40 homer season in the 80s. But I'm not as sure about that as I am about Patricelli. I hope I'm pronouncing his name right because I've never actually heard it said aloud. Mo Vaughn will work. Manny Ramirez will work. David Ortiz will work. And I think that's it. JD Martinez will work. I'm gonna go with Rico. Jamie Foxx, I think it'll be between him and Jimmy Foxx for the most obscure here. But get him in there, lock it in, 0.7%. All right. 40 homers for the Cubs. You'll have Hack Wilson, the year he set the all-time RBI record. You almost have Hornsby, but not quite. I think Hornsby had 39 one year with the Cubs. Oh, let's see. I think Hank Sauer had like 37 in the 50s. I'm just trying to make sure I don't miss any obvious ones. Ernie Banks. I think Sammy Sosa is gonna get the lion's share here. Billy Williams will probably do pretty well. Ernie Banks will probably do. I mean, these are older players, but they're Hall of Famers. They're pretty prominent. Andre Dawson had 49 home runs in that 1987 season with the Cubs. Derek Lee had 46 home runs in 2005. That was a big year for him. So I've hit a few. It's weird. I think Derek Lee might actually take fewer than Ernie Banks and Billy Williams. Maybe. Trying to think if there's anyone else because I feel like with 40 homer seasons with the Cubs is only probably um a dozen or fewer players who've done it, and I think I've rattled off most of them. Not all, but most. And I mean Derek Lee's relatively recent, 2005, so within the last 20 years. Um, Ron Santo did not do it. Billy Williams, maybe just because he's like not quite he wasn't an MVP like Ernie Banks. I mean, they're both Hall of Famers. Maybe just because they're almost contemporaries, like they've kind of overlapping careers. Williams played a little bit later, but um, Hack Wilson, I mean, he set the all-time RBI record. I think people will know that one. I think I am gonna go with Billy Williams. between him and Derek Lee. Derek Lee is like the more I think about it, like 2005 doesn't seem that long ago. It's like within my coming of age as a baseball fan, but it's not that recent. I'm gonna go with Billy Williams. Billy Williams. 1%. All right. I might do it on my phone later and see how Derek Lee did. All right, 40 homers for the White Sox. This one, like the White Sox didn't have a ton of like they were more known for speed. For much of their time. So some people who will, I think, do numbers will include Paul Konerko. Um, Maglio did not hit 40 home runs. He hit like 38 for the White Sox, but he'll work here if I can't think of anyone else. I'll keep that in my back pocket. I think Dotel will be better than Maglio though. Come back here. Um, right. So you've got Frank Thomas. I don't think Jose Abreu got to 40. I want to say Todd Frazier got to 40 though. Pretty sure that was with the White Sox, but that was again relatively recently. Um, Dick Allen won an MVP with a monster season, but it was in the early 1970s, and I think it was only like 37 or so home runs. And yeah, I mean, if you look at like White Sox and like, I don't think Al Simmons got there as a White Sox. I think he might have gotten there as a Philadelphia Athletic. Jermaine Dye is sticking out. Albert Bell had 40 home runs in the 1998 season, 49 home runs actually. Jim Thome also had over 40 home runs as a White Sox. Is it White Sox or White Sox? I don't really know. So I've listed a bunch. I think Frank Thomas, I'm going to call it now, goes over 60% on this. Um, so yeah, let's go. Of all the people I mentioned, is it more Albert Bell only played for the White Sox for 2 seasons, but Jermaine Dye only played for like 3 or 4. He was on the '05 team. Here, that's going to be the. I'm going to go with Bell. Let's see how Bell does. 3%. All right. All right. Got some interesting ones to play with here. Rick Porcello would work here. Cy Young winner with the Red Sox. Just grabbing some coffee. Brain drink. So how am I doing so far? I've got 2.6. I'm at 5.6. It's not bad. Just lock in Dotel. I think Maglio Ordonez does too well here, so 4%. If Dotel works, man, that floor is just going to keep getting higher and higher. I don't think he played for either team for a particularly long time, but all right. Let's see, Angels and White Sox. Ooh, I got a good one for Angels and White Sox because he only played one season. It wasn't very good, but hero, Jim Abbott, also works for the Brewers. If you want to use that, he played that last 1999 season as Milwaukee Brewer and got 2 hits in the National League. So kudos to him. 5%. Wow, it's a lot higher than I would have expected. because he did not play with the White Sox for very long. I think it was only a season or two. And now we're looking at Angels and Cubs. I'm just trying to think of guys that were obscure one way or another, but it would help if they were obscure. I think it would actually help if they were obscure with the Angels. I think the Cubs have a bigger fan base. Because the Angels are kind of, I mean, they both play in cities with two teams, so maybe that's not quite right. Maybe they're about the same. I was about to say here, like if if in doubt about what's going to have the lower rarity score, I think you want to go with the one who achieved prominence with the larger fan base and was only like with the other fan base for a little bit. Because if it's the other way around, like I mean the Red Sox have a huge fan base, the Cubs have a huge fan base, and they'll remember a guy who was only there for like a year. Um, but yeah, so I'm gonna keep rolling here. I think a lot of people are gonna get Rick Porcello. I think that's gonna be too obvious. But you know what? I mentioned him over here, but Fred Lynn played like a season in Detroit, I think, at the very, very end. So he'll work here, and I think that's 1%. Okay. And once again, going with fairly prominent players all the way around. I haven't hasn't been a ton of obscurity here. Um, now we're trying to think of Cubs that made their way over either across Lake Michigan to Detroit or across the country out to Los Angeles. I wonder if I can put in Wrigley Field since the Angels played at LA Wrigley Field for their first few seasons. Let's see here. Well, we can go around the horn a little bit. Let's pick your era of Cubs. Um, Brad Os or no, not Brad Osmus. Well, either Osmus or Girardi. I'm trying to think if because Girardi did play for the Cubs. I'm not sure if he played for the Tigers. Like that, he's not ringing a bell as a Tiger. Brad Osmus played for the Tigers. Don't think he was ever a Cub. He was an Astro and a Tiger. I don't know that he was ever a Cub. He might have been, but um, let's see how Lackey does. Just because I know this is been going for a little while here. 18%. Okay, that's a lot higher than I would have thought. Actually, not I shouldn't be surprised by that. He won World Series with both teams. Um, I shouldn't have been surprised by it. He was a rookie with that '02 Angels team, and then towards the end of his career, he went to Chicago. I shouldn't have been surprised by that. That was a dumb one. I should have held out for a little bit longer on that. All right, so now to go 9 for 9. I need to get a Cub who made their way over to Detroit. Um, and let's see, we're thinking let's just go let's look at those late 90s teams. That's kind of my bread and butter here. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get I mean obviously Mark Grace at first, that doesn't work. I don't think Morandini played for the Tigers. He was the Phillies and then the Cubs. Um Eric Young's not gonna work either. I'm on second base right now. Don't think Mark DeRosa ever played for the Tigers, pretty sure. Oh, let's see here. Third base, Gaetti. He only played a little bit for the Cubs, but I don't think that's going to work. Um, Jose Hernandez, Jeff Blauser. All these guys work for the Braves. Henry Rodriguez, maybe. Yeah. What if Melvin Nieves ever came to the Chicago Cubs? I feel like I would have known about that. Todd Jones, was he a Cub at some point? Todd Jones bounced around a lot too. Alternatively, we can look at the some eras of the Tigers here. Let's look at that '06 team. Let's see if anyone makes their way over. So you got Ivan Rodriguez, you got Brendan Inge, Renneria, nah. Lucia Polanco. I don't think Tony Clark, that's earlier, but Tony Clark was never over there. Just trying to be methodical about this and, fill white space because me just looking at this is not gonna make for very good content. I'm not even sure if this makes for good content, but if you're hanging around, smash that like button as the kids say, and we'll we'll see if I can make these a little bit better. And then I mean, both these teams are super old. And like I think they faced each other in like the 1907 World Series or something. Um, but there wasn't that much cross-pollination between the American and National Leagues. Um, before the era of free agency. So, um, there probably are people that I'm just not thinking of, but for the most part, National League players like to hang in the National League with where they were familiar, ditto with American League players. Um, and so it was relatively it's interesting. This one has given me so much trouble because these are uh fairly prominent old teams. Granderson never played for the Cubs. Miguel Ordonez never played for the Cubs. I also could have used him here. How about pitchers? Maddox, Tapani. Todd Jones, for some reason, I'm thinking Todd Jones might have been a Cub briefly. But if I had anyone better, I wouldn't go with Todd Jones. Um, like I know Richie Ashburn played a season with the Cubs, but then he went to the Mets. I don't think he was ever with Detroit. I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think like Colavito, Norm Cash, Bill Freehan, none of these guys played for the Cubs. Fergie Jenkins never played for the Tigers. Mickey Lolich never played for the Cubs, I don't think. Nate McClain never played for the Cubs. Willie Hernandez, I wonder if he played for the. I wonder if he ever made his way out to Chicago. Was Todd Jones my best? I think Todd Jones was my best guess. He played. I'm just saying he played for a lot of teams. And he definitely played for the Tigers. I can't believe this one is giving me so much trouble. I was just Sheffield is a good one. Plays for a lot of teams, but didn't play there. Cabrera obviously never played for the Cubs. Yeah, you just keep going round and round, and I'm drawing just the most colossal blank on a Tiger Cub, if you will. It's even more recent people. Javi Baez played for both teams, right? I think a lot of people are going to get that. Javi Baez is definitely with Detroit or has been with Detroit recently. If he's not there right now, I don't know. I haven't kept as close enough tabs, but I think that is one that will work, but also one that a lot of people will get if it's true. It's a lot of qualifiers. All right, Dad, help me out here. I'm going Todd Jones, locking it in. Nope. All right, about 100,000 games. It's a good gauge because we're in the morning here. So I was trying to go sub 50 or so. So many people, Javi Baez did take the majority. I was right about that. Just didn't want to go with him. A lot of reasons. Yeah, I was at 60% for Frank Thomas. Maglio was close to 40%. Bartolo Colon, big sexy, doing pretty well there. 79% of people were able to come up with someone. So now I feel dumb. What are some ones I should have gone with other than Baez? Because it would have been a safer choice. Castellanos, Jim Hegan. He's like a batting cage that my dad actually used to take me to. It's called Jim Hegan's Field of Dreams. Because I think he was a Brewer for like 2 seasons and used that fame to make a local batting cage. Ooh, Casey McGee. Love Casey McGee. Didn't realize he played for both teams. That was before he was a Brewer. I'm scrolling through. Carlos Pena, I think I did know, but for the most part, I haven't known that a lot of these guys. Like, I'm not kicking myself on not remembering that Germany Schaefer didn't play for both teams. Um, I'll keep that in the back pocket though. Ooh, Randall Simon, I probably should have gotten because Randall Simon hit the uh one of the racing sausages in a game at Miller Park, and we booed him relentlessly for it. Matt Stairs, you know what? Matt Stairs would have been a really good like when in doubt kind of guy. Matt Stairs played for a bunch of teams. I didn't associate him with being a Tiger though. I've gone through this list now, and I'm just not seeing a ton of ones that really should have stuck out. A couple that I probably could have come up with. I didn't realize Kyle Farnsworth was a Tiger during their pennant season. Ooh, Willie Hernandez. Willie Hernandez, even gave a shout out to. I was like, I wonder if he ever made his way to Chicago. Turns out he was there for 7 years. I just didn't know. I'm not gonna say I should have gotten that because I didn't actually know that. As far as I'm concerned, Willie Hernandez's career is 1984, and that's it. Fernando Rodney. Yeah, I didn't associate him with that 2015 Cubs team that went to the LCS. Fascinating. Fascinating. I really should just gone. Well, I mean, I'd say I go with Baez, but I don't know. I felt about 50% sure or so on Todd Jones, and it turned out I was wrong. So I'm 2 for my last 5, and I haven't had a good day since Tuesday. But that's not true. I've had great time making these videos. I enjoy the thrill and the shaking of the dice that comes with it. So I'm having a good time, just not playing particularly well the last few days, but that's all right. I'll try to redeem myself. In the meantime, have a happy Sunday, and look forward to doing this again with you guys later.